Adana never imagined that the same man who once begged her to marry him would one day look at her pregnant body with disgust. It started with small things. The kind of small things you ignore at first because you don't want to believe your own eyes. Adana was 8 months pregnant, her belly heavy, her back aching most days, but she still tried to keep the house calm. She still tried to look good. She still tried to be the woman Michael married. That evening, she stood in front of the mirror in their bedroom and adjusted her loose gown. Her face was still pretty. Her skin still glowed. Even with the weight, even with the swelling, Adana was still beautiful. She rubbed her belly gently and smiled to herself. "Baby, your father will soon come back," she whispered. From the sitting room, she heard the front door open. Her heart lifted immediately. "Michael?" she called. No answer. She stepped out slowly, one hand holding her waist. Michael walked in like he was tired of the air in the house. He didn't look at her. He dropped his car keys on the table with a sharp sound and went straight to the sofa. Adana forced a smile. "Welcome. How was work?" Michael pulled out his phone. "Fine." Adana waited. She stood there for a second, expecting the usual. A smile. A small joke. Even a simple, "How are you?" But he didn't ask anything. She walked closer. "Are you okay? You look stressed." Michael sighed loudly, like her voice was a problem. "Adana, please. I'm tired." Adana blinked. "I'm not disturbing you. I just asked." "I said I'm tired," he repeated, still staring at his phone. That phone. That was the first thing that changed. Michael used to drop his phone anywhere. Now it was always in his hand. If it rang, he would turn away. If a message came in, he would smile slightly, then hide the screen the moment Adana entered. Adana swallowed. "I made rice. Your favorite. I added the stew you like." Michael finally looked up, and the look was flat. Not angry, just empty. "Did you even ask me if I wanted rice?" he said. Adana froze. "It's what you always eat on Wednesdays." "Well, I'm not always hungry," he replied. "Sometimes I just want to rest when I enter." Adana's fingers tightened around her gown. "Okay, I'm sorry. I can make something else." Michael looked away again. "Leave it." Adana stood there, feeling like she had done something wrong but not knowing what it was. She turned and walked back to the kitchen, moving slowly because of the baby. She tried not to cry. She told herself it was just stress. Work stress. Money stress. Maybe he was worried about the baby coming soon. But deep down, another thought kept knocking inside her head. Why is he suddenly acting like I'm a stranger? She served the food anyway and placed it on the dining table. Then she went back to the sitting room. "Michael, food is ready," she said gently. Michael didn't move. He kept scrolling on his phone. Adana waited. "Do you want me to bring it here?" Michael's jaw tightened. "Adana, please. You're doing too much." She stared at him. "Too much? I'm just trying to take care of you." "I said I'm not hungry," he snapped. Then he added, almost under his breath, "You're always hovering around. It's irritating." That word hit her like a slap. Irritating. Adana felt her throat tighten. She wanted to ask him, "Since when?" But she didn't. She simply nodded like a fool. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'll keep it." As she turned, she heard him laugh softly at something on his phone. It wasn't a big laugh, but it was real. It was the kind of laugh she hadn't heard from him in weeks. Adana paused by the doorway and looked back. "Who are you chatting with?" she asked, trying to sound normal. Michael's smile vanished instantly. He locked his phone and dropped it beside him. "Why do you always ask that?" he said. Adana's chest rose and fell. "Because you don't laugh with me anymore. You don't talk to me. You come home and you're cold." Michael leaned back and rubbed his face. "Can you not start this thing again tonight?" Adana stepped closer. "I'm not starting anything. Michael, I'm your wife." Michael's eyes moved slowly from her face to her belly and back. Then he frowned. "I'm not blind," he said. "I know you're my wife." The way he said it was strange, like it was not something he was happy about. Adana forced herself to speak. "I've noticed you've been coming home late. Sometimes you take calls outside." Sometimes you leave the room to reply messages. Are you okay? Is something happening? Michael stood up suddenly. Must you turn every small thing into a problem? Adana flinched. It's not small to me. Michael walked toward the window, facing away from her. You're too sensitive. Adana followed him slowly. Sensitive? Michael, I'm pregnant. This is our first child together. I need peace. Michael turned quickly. Peace? You're the one disturbing my peace. Adana's eyes filled with tears. I'm disturbing your peace because I asked you who you're chatting with? Michael looked at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head like he was tired of her whole existence. Look, Adana, he said, voice low and harsh. Stop acting like a victim all the time. I'm not in the mood. Adana placed a hand on her belly as if to steady herself. I'm not acting. I'm hurt. Michael scoffed. Hurt. Everything is hurt. Hurt. Hurt with you. Adana whispered. When did you start talking to me like this? Michael didn't answer. He picked up his phone again. Adana stared at him, searching his face. This was the same man who once used to sit beside her and rub her feet. The same man who once told her she was the most beautiful woman in the world. The same man who once begged her, called her every hour, promised her a peaceful home, promised her love. Now he couldn't even look at her for 2 seconds without irritation. Adana took a step back. Michael, did I do something wrong? Michael's lips pressed together. He looked at her again, and this time the look was worse. Not empty, not tired. This time it carried something else. Disgust. Adana felt it clearly, like heat on her skin. He looked at her body, at her swollen legs, at her big belly, at the weight pregnancy had added. Then he looked away like he didn't want to see her. Adana's voice shook. Michael, what is that look? Michael's eyes narrowed. What look? The way you just looked at me, Adana said, tears falling now. Like I'm something you regret. Michael exhaled sharply. Adana, please, don't start crying. Why? She asked, wiping her face quickly. Why are you ashamed of me? I'm carrying your child. Michael's phone rang suddenly. He glanced at the screen and his face changed. Not anger, not disgust. His face softened. He quickly declined the call, but the softness was there for a second. Adana noticed it. She noticed everything. Who is that? She asked again, this time firmer. Michael slipped his phone into his pocket. Nobody. Adana shook her head slowly. It's not nobody. Michael, you don't smile at nobody like that. Michael's shoulders stiffened. You want to know the truth? Adana nodded, heart pounding. Yes. Michael looked at her from head to toe again, then said coldly, the truth is that you've changed. You're not the woman I married. Adana stared at him, shocked. Changed? Michael, I'm pregnant. Michael shrugged. Pregnant or not, you've changed. Adana's mouth opened, but no words came out. She felt her heart sink, not because of the words alone, but because she understood what he meant. It was not about her attitude. It was not about her cooking. It was not about stress. It was her body. And that was how Adana realized something terrifying that night. Michael didn't just seem tired. Michael was starting to hate being around her. Michael did not wake up hating his pregnant wife. Someone taught him how. The next afternoon, Michael sat inside a quiet lounge not far from his office. He checked his watch again, restless, then looked up when he heard heels clicking on the tiled floor. Chioma walked in like she owned the place. Tall, slim, extremely beautiful, dressed like she had nowhere else to be. Heads turned as she passed. Michael smiled before he even realized it. You're late, he said. Chioma smiled back and sat opposite him. I wanted to keep you waiting. It makes men value my time. Michael laughed. You're impossible. And yet, Chioma said, crossing her legs slowly. You're here. The waiter came. She ordered without looking at the menu. Michael watched her, relaxed in a way he hadn't felt in weeks. This place felt light. No crying. No tension. No swollen belly reminding him of responsibility. Chioma leaned forward. You look stressed. Michael sighed. Home. She raised an eyebrow. Your wife. He nodded. Chioma shook her head slowly. I don't know how you do it. Michael frowned. Do what? Live with all that, she said, waving her hand vaguely. The weight, the mood, the constant complaints. Michael shifted in his seat. She's pregnant. So? Chioma replied calmly. Pregnancy is not an excuse to let yourself go. Michael didn't answer immediately. Chioma continued, her voice smooth. Look at me. Do I look like someone who would ever allow herself to get like that? Michael looked at her body. Slim waist, flat stomach, everything controlled. No, he admitted. She smiled. Exactly. Michael took a sip of his drink. She wasn't always like this. Chioma laughed softly. That's what they all say. Michael looked at her sharply. What do you mean? Chioma leaned back. Michael, I'm not insulting her. I'm just saying the truth. Some women relax once they think a man is trapped. Michael's jaw tightened. Trapped? She's pregnant, Chioma said plainly. She knows you won't leave. So why should she try? The words settled into Michael's mind quietly. Chioma watched his face and pressed further. Does she still dress well? Michael hesitated. She wears loose gowns. Does she still smell nice? Chioma asked. Michael shifted again. She tries. Chioma smiled like she had won something. You see. Michael frowned. She's carrying my child. Chioma rolled her eyes slightly. Michael, don't be dramatic. Plenty of women carry children and still look good. Pregnancy is not the problem. Laziness is. Michael stared at the table. Chioma reached out and touched his hand gently. You deserve to be happy. Michael looked up. I am happy. Chioma tilted her head. Are you? He didn't answer. She squeezed his hand. When last did you feel peace at home? Michael thought of Adana's tears. Her questions. Her swollen feet moving slowly across the floor. I don't know, he said quietly. Chioma smiled softly. Exactly. Michael pulled his hand back slightly. She didn't used to be like this. Chioma laughed again, louder this time. Michael, you keep defending her. But look at you. You're always irritated. Always angry. That's not love. Michael's chest tightened. What do you want me to do? Chioma leaned closer. I want you to be honest with yourself. Michael looked around nervously. This is my wife we're talking about. And I'm talking about your life, Chioma replied. Do you want to spend the rest of it forcing yourself to be patient? Michael didn't reply. Chioma's tone softened. You know, when a man starts feeling disgust instead of attraction, it's already over. Michael swallowed. You looked at her the other day and felt nothing, Chioma said quietly. Didn't you? Michael's silence was the answer. Chioma smiled, satisfied. I could never allow myself to become a burden to a man. Michael sighed deeply. Sometimes when I come home, everything she does annoys me. Chioma nodded. Because your heart has left. Michael rubbed his face. That sounds harsh. The truth is harsh, Chioma said. But it frees you. Michael looked at her again. And you? What do you want? Chioma smiled slowly. I want a man who chooses me, not one forced to stay because of pregnancy. Michael's phone buzzed. Adana's name appeared on the screen. Chioma glanced at it and smirked. Answer it. Michael hesitated, then answered. Hello. Adana's voice came through, soft and careful. Hi. I just wanted to ask what you want for dinner. Michael closed his eyes briefly. Anything. There was a pause. Are you okay? Adana asked. Yes, he replied shortly. Another pause. You sound tired. Michael glanced at Chioma, who was watching him closely. I said I'm fine, he snapped. Adana went quiet. Okay, I'll make something light. Michael ended the call and dropped the phone. Chioma clapped slowly. See how even her voice irritates you? Michael said nothing. Chioma leaned back comfortably. Michael, let me be honest with you. You're wasting your prime years. Michael frowned. Prime years? You're young, she said. You should be with someone who excites you, not someone who makes you feel trapped. Michael stood up suddenly and walked a few steps away. This is not easy. Chioma stood too and walked to him. I know. She placed a hand on his chest. But deep down, you already know the truth. Michael looked at her. And the baby? Chioma shrugged. Children grow. Bodies don't always return. Michael's throat felt dry. Chioma smiled again, this time crueler. Be honest, Michael. When you imagine your future, do you see her body the way it is now? Michael didn't answer. Chioma nodded slowly. Exactly. Later that night, Michael drove home in silence. His head was full. Every word Chioma said replayed itself over and over. By the time he opened the door, his heart had already hardened. Adana was in the kitchen, stirring soup slowly. You're late, she said gently. Michael dropped his bag and stared at her belly. Without thinking, he muttered, You should really stop eating so much. Adana froze, and in that moment the poison Chioma planted finally began to work. Michael did not just change overnight. He became cruel in pieces. The morning after his comment about her eating too much, Adana barely slept. The words stayed with her, sharp and heavy. She woke up early, her back aching, and forced herself into the kitchen. She wanted to do everything right. She wanted peace. Michael walked in while she was frying eggs. Why is the oil splashing like this? He snapped. Adana flinched slightly. I'll reduce the heat. She turned the knob carefully. Her hands were shaking. Michael leaned against the doorframe and watched her body move slowly. His face tightened. You move like an old woman now, he said. Adana froze. Michael, I'm pregnant. So, he replied. Does pregnancy mean you should suddenly forget how to do simple things? Adana swallowed hard. I'm trying. Michael scoffed. You're always trying. Nothing ever comes out right. She turned off the stove and faced him. Why are you talking to me like this? Michael shrugged. I'm just saying the truth. Adana felt tears rush to her eyes. You didn't talk to me like this before. Michael walked past her and sat down. Before, you didn't look like this. The words landed hard. Adana placed a hand on her belly. This body is carrying your child. Michael laughed without humor. That excuse again. Adana's voice cracked. Why are you angry with me? Michael looked up sharply. Because everything about you irritates me now. Silence filled the room. Adana stared at him like she didn't recognize the man in front of her. My voice. Yes. My cooking. Yes. My presence. She whispered. Michael didn't hesitate. Yes. Adana's legs felt weak. She held onto the counter. So what do you want me to do? She asked quietly. Disappear. Michael stood up. If you can give me peace, that would help. She laughed bitterly. Peace? I barely talk anymore. And yet you still disturb me, he replied. Adana shook her head slowly. Someone has been talking to you. Michael stiffened. What does that mean? You didn't wake up one day and start hating me, she said. Someone put these words in your mouth. Michael's eyes darkened. Watch how you talk. Adana stepped closer. Is it her? Michael said nothing. That woman, Adana continued. Chioma. Is it her? Michael's jaw clenched. Don't bring outsiders into this. So it is her, Adana said, tears falling freely now. You come home angry every day. You insult my body. You look at me with disgust. And I should believe this is just stress. Michael turned away. I'm tired of this conversation. Adana followed him slowly. Michael, I am your wife. He turned suddenly. And you're making my life difficult. Her breath caught. By existing? Michael threw his hands up. By becoming this. He gestured at her body. Adana gasped. This is what pregnancy does. Michael laughed sharply. Not to everyone. Adana whispered. You used to love me. Michael replied coldly. That was before. Her heart shattered quietly. From that day, nothing she did was right. If she cooked, he complained about the taste. If she cleaned, he said she missed spots. If she rested, he called her lazy. If she spoke, he called her noisy. One afternoon, she sat on the sofa, her feet swollen, breathing slowly. Michael walked in and frowned. Why are you sitting like that? My legs hurt, she replied softly. You're always complaining, he said. My mother carried 5 children and still worked. Adana looked up. I'm not your mother. And that's the problem, Michael snapped. She closed her eyes. Michael, please. Please what? He replied. Please pretend you're still attractive? The insult burned. That evening, while Adana washed dishes slowly, Michael sat with his phone, smiling. Who are you chatting with? She asked gently. Michael didn't look up. Mind your business. Adana's voice shook. I am your business. Michael laughed. Not anymore. She dropped the plate by mistake. It shattered on the floor. Michael jumped up. Are you mad? I didn't do it on purpose, she said quickly. Look at the mess, he shouted. You're so clumsy now. Adana bent down slowly to pick the pieces. Leave it, Michael said. You'll cut yourself. Or better still, just sit. You don't do anything right anyway. Adana sat back on her heels, crying quietly. Michael walked past her. I'm going out. At this time? She asked. Yes, he replied. At least outside. I can breathe. The door slammed behind him. That night, Adana sat alone in the dark. Her phone buzzed. A message from Michael. Don't wait up. She stared at the screen, her heart sinking. The next morning, Michael didn't come home until dawn. Adana asked nothing. Days passed like that. His insults became normal. His coldness became routine. Her tears became silent. One evening, she gathered courage. Michael, she said, standing in front of him, do you still want this marriage? Michael looked at her like the question annoyed him. Why wouldn't I? Because you treat me like a burden, she replied. Michael leaned back. You are one. The word hit harder than any slap. Adana whispered, I am your pregnant wife. Michael stood up and grabbed his car keys. I didn't ask you to become like this. As he walked out, Adana sank into the chair, shaking. That was the moment she understood something painful. Michael was no longer just irritated. He was slowly stripping her of dignity. And the worst was yet to come. When Michael decided to disgrace Adana in public, it was no longer just hatred. It was a plan. That evening, Adana tried to fix the mood in the house the only way she knew how. She cooked Michael's favorite meal again. She even dressed neatly, tied her hair, and applied a small powder on her face. Not because she wanted to impress him, but because she wanted to feel like herself again. Michael came in and barely glanced at the dining table. Food is ready, Adana said softly. Michael dropped his phone and keys. I'm not hungry. Adana swallowed. You haven't eaten at home for days. Please just sit. Even if it's small. Michael looked at her belly and scoffed. You eat enough for 2 people. Don't worry about me. Adana's eyes filled. Michael, why are you doing this to me? Michael walked past her. I'm tired. Adana followed him slowly. I'm tired too. I'm pregnant. I cry every day. I don't even know who you are anymore. Michael turned sharply. You keep crying like a child. Must you always make everything emotional? Adana stared at him. This is my marriage. Michael laughed dryly. Marriage? Adana's voice trembled. Please, talk to me. If I offended you, tell me. If you were seeing someone, tell me. Michael's eyes flashed. You want to accuse me? Adana shook her head. I'm not accusing. I'm begging you to stop treating me like rubbish. Michael stepped closer, his face tight. Rubbish? Look at you, Adana. Look at your body. Adana flinched as if he hit her. Michael continued coldly. You've let yourself go. You don't even try to look good anymore. Adana whispered, I am carrying your child. Michael rolled his eyes. There it is again. Adana's lips shook. I didn't do this alone. Michael stared at her for a long moment, then said something that made her stomach turn. You know what? Since you like asking questions, you'll get answers soon. Adana blinked. What does that mean? Michael picked up his phone. It means I'm done with this drama. He walked away into the bedroom and shut the door. Adana stood in the sitting room, breathing heavily. Her heart beat fast. She didn't understand what he meant, but she felt something coming. Something bad. The next day was quiet. Too quiet. Michael didn't insult her. He didn't shout. He didn't complain. He barely spoke. He ate outside and came home late as usual. But his silence felt different. Felt like he was waiting for something. Adana tried to ask him again, but he ignored her. By evening, the sky had started to darken. Adana was in the kitchen washing vegetables when she heard a car horn outside. Not Michael's regular horn. This one was slow and confident, like someone who wanted attention. She wiped her hands and walked to the window. A sleek car was parked outside the compound. Her heart dropped when she saw Michael step out, then open the passenger door. And Chioma came out. Chioma's hair was laid perfectly. Her gown hugged her shape. She walked with that same pride Adana had imagined from a distance. She looked like a woman coming to claim something. Michael led her toward the house like it was normal. Adana's legs went weak. She rushed to the sitting room, breathing hard. Michael! Michael entered first, smiling slightly. Chioma followed behind him, looking around the house with interest like she was inspecting a property. Adana's voice shook. What is she doing here? Michael dropped on the sofa like a king. She's here because I brought her. Adana stared at Chioma. Chioma, please. Why are you here? Chioma smiled slowly. To breathe fresh air. This place is calm. Adana's eyes burned. Calm? You came to my home. Chioma turned to Michael. Is she always this dramatic? Michael laughed. Every day. Adana's stomach tightened. Michael, what is going on? Michael leaned forward, elbows on his knees. What is going on is that I'm tired of pretending. Adana swallowed. Pretending what? Michael looked her up and down with open disgust. Pretending that this is what I want. Adana's eyes filled instantly. Michael, I'm your wife. Michael nodded slowly. You were. Adana froze. What? Chioma laughed softly. He said you were. Adana stepped back. Michael, I'm pregnant. Michael shrugged. So? Adana's mouth opened but nothing came out. Her chest tightened like she couldn't breathe. You can't do this, she whispered. Michael stood up. I can. And I am. Adana looked around like she wanted the walls to answer her. So you brought her here to tell me this? Michael pointed around the house. This house is mine. I pay the rent. I bought everything inside here. If I want Chioma here, she will be here. Adana's voice rose in pain. So I'm nothing? Michael's face hardened. You became nothing the moment you stopped being attractive. Adana gasped and held her belly. Chioma clapped her hands lightly. At least he finally said it. Adana turned to Chioma, trembling. You are a woman too. How can you stand here and laugh at a pregnant woman? Chioma shrugged. Adana, please, don't use that pregnancy card on me. Being pregnant doesn't make you special. It just made you bigger. Michael laughed loudly. Adana's tears fell freely. Michael, stop. Please stop. This baby is your child. Michael stepped closer, lowering his voice. I'm tired of looking at you. Adana whispered. So you want to replace me? Michael nodded. Yes. And Chioma understands me. She doesn't annoy me. She doesn't make me feel trapped. Adana shook her head violently. This is wicked. Chioma smiled and walked closer to Adana. Wicked is you thinking you can keep a man when you look like this. Adana's voice cracked. I look like this because of pregnancy. Chioma rolled her eyes. Save it. Adana turned back to Michael. Michael, please. Even if you hate me, don't disgrace me like this. At least respect the fact that we are married. Michael's lips curled. Respect? You want respect now. Adana fell to her knees slowly, not because she wanted to beg, but because her body couldn't hold her anymore. Michael, she cried. I have nowhere to go. Michael looked down at her, unmoved. Then you should have thought about that before becoming this. The front door was slightly open. Voices started gathering outside. Neighbors had seen Chioma enter. People were already whispering. Adana heard them. She tried to stand. Please, don't do this outside. Michael grabbed her arm and pulled her up roughly. Get your things, he said. Adana shook her head, crying harder. No. Michael, no. Chioma laughed. Get her out. I can't sleep in a house where a fat woman is crying every minute. Michael's eyes flashed. You heard her. Adana's voice became desperate. Michael, please. Michael dragged her toward the door. Adana held the door frame. This is my home. Michael yanked her hand off. Not anymore. He pushed her outside. Adana stumbled onto the veranda, almost falling. She held her belly tightly. The street was full of people now. Neighbors, children, women standing with hands on their waists, men shaking their heads. What is happening? Someone asked. Is that not Adana? Another voice said. She's pregnant. Adana's tears poured down. Please help me. Michael stepped out behind her and raised his voice so everyone could hear. I'm sending her away, he said. I can't stand her anymore. A woman in the crowd hissed. Shameless man. Another man said, She's pregnant, Michael. Have fear. Michael ignored them. He turned to Adana and spoke like he wanted to finish her. Carry your big body and leave my house, he said. Chioma appeared behind him, smiling proudly. Adana stared at them, shaking from head to toe, as the neighbors watched with disgust. And that was how Adana, pregnant and broken, was thrown into the street like she was nothing. When Michael finished disgracing his pregnant wife, he thought the story had ended. He did not know someone else had just entered it. Adana stood outside the gate, shaking from head to toe. Her wrapper was loose, her hair scattered, her eyes red from crying. Her belly felt heavy, not just with the baby, but with shame. Neighbors surrounded her, whispering loudly now. Some shook their heads. Some looked away. Some stared openly like it was a show. Inside the compound, the door slammed shut. That sound broke something inside her. Adana slowly lowered herself to the ground, holding her stomach tightly as if she was protecting the only thing she had left. Please, she whispered. Please. A woman in the crowd hissed loudly. This is wickedness. Another replied, It is husband and wife matter. Let us not interfere. Adana heard everything. Every word sank deeper than the last. That was when a voice cut through the noise. Madam. Adana looked up slowly. A young man had stepped forward from the crowd. He was tall, extremely handsome, but his face was serious. His eyes were calm. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't staring at her body. He was just looking at her like a human being. My name is Obina, he said gently. Are you hurt? Adana shook her head weakly. No. Obina crouched slightly so he wouldn't tower over her. You're shaking. She hugged her belly tighter. I'll be fine. He glanced at the gate behind her, then back at her face. You can't stay here. Adana laughed softly, a broken sound. I don't plan to. Where will you go? He asked. Adana opened her mouth. No words came out. Obina waited. I don't know, she finally said. The crowd grew quiet. Obina stood up and faced them. Please give her space. Slowly, people stepped back. Some murmured prayers. Some shook their heads again and walked away. Obina turned back to Adana. Do you have family nearby? No, she whispered. Friends. She shook her head again. Obina exhaled slowly, thinking. Then he said something that shocked her. You can come with me. Adana stiffened. What? I have a place, he said calmly. You can rest there. She stared at him in disbelief. I don't know you. That's true, Obina replied. And I won't force you. But you can't sit on this road at night in your condition. Adana looked around. The sky was darkening. Her legs ached. Her back burned. Fear crept into her chest. Why would you help me? She asked. Obina was quiet for a moment. Then he said softly, My mother was pregnant when my father walked away. I watched people turn their backs on her. I won't do the same. Adana's eyes filled again. Men always say kind things. Obina nodded. I know. That's why I'm not asking you to trust my words. Just come somewhere safe. If you feel uncomfortable, you can leave. She looked at his face again. There was no hunger in his eyes. No mockery. No impatience, just concern. Her body was tired of fighting. Okay, she whispered. Obinna extended his hand slowly. Take your time. He helped her stand carefully, making sure she didn't strain herself. As they walked away, Adana did not look back at the house that had rejected her. Obinna's place was quiet and modest. Clean, simple, safe. Sit, he said, pulling out a chair. Adana sat carefully. He brought her water. Drink slowly. She obeyed. You can sleep in the guest room, Obinna added. I'll be in the other room. Adana looked up at him. Thank you. He nodded. You're welcome. That night, Adana lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. Her body still hurt, but her heart was calmer than it had been in weeks. No shouting, no insults, no looks of disgust, just silence. The next morning, she woke up to the smell of food. Obinna was in the kitchen. Good morning, he said. Good morning, she replied cautiously. There's food, he said. Eat if you can. She hesitated. I don't want to disturb you. You're not disturbing me, Obinna replied simply. Days passed. Obinna never rushed her, never commented on her body, never raised his voice. He asked about her hospital appointments. He reminded her to rest. He listened when she spoke. One evening, Adana finally broke down. I don't understand, she cried. My husband couldn't stand me, but you treat me like this. Obinna looked at her steadily. Pregnancy is not a reason to hate someone. She wiped her tears. He said I was irritating. You're not, Obinna said firmly. He said I was nothing. Obinna shook his head. You are carrying life. That alone makes you important. Adana felt something she had not felt in a long time. Safety. And in another part of the city, Michael believed he had replaced her easily. He did not know that while he was losing his soul, Adana had found shelter. 2 weeks after Adana entered Obinna's home, her belly dropped lower. The baby was close. Her body was heavy, and sometimes she would sit quietly and breathe through the discomfort, trying not to complain. Obinna noticed everything. One morning, he found her standing by the window, one hand on her belly, the other pressing her waist. You didn't sleep well, he said. Adana forced a small smile. The baby was moving too much. Obinna walked closer. Are you in pain? A bit, she admitted. Obinna nodded. We are going to the hospital today. Adana turned quickly. No, I'm fine. Obinna's voice was calm but firm. Adana, I'm not asking. I'm saying it because I care. Adana looked down. I don't want to waste your money. Obinna's eyes softened. Listen to me. You are not a burden. Do you understand? Adana's throat tightened. Why are you like this? Obinna exhaled slowly. Because you deserve to be treated well. That's all. Adana nodded, blinking back tears. Okay. They went for a checkup. The nurse smiled at Adana and touched her belly gently. Your baby is strong, the nurse said. But you must rest. No stress. Adana almost laughed at the word stress. Stress was what her old life was built on. Here it was different. Here she could breathe. That evening, she sat on the couch while Obinna prepared tea. Obinna, she called softly. He walked in. Yes. Adana hesitated. Do you ever think? Maybe people will say I'm shameless? Obinna sat opposite her. Who are the people? Adana looked away. The neighbors. The world. They will say I left my husband and entered another man's house. Obinna's voice stayed steady. Adana, you didn't leave your husband. He threw you out. Adana swallowed. Still. Obinna leaned forward. Do you want to go back? Adana's head snapped up. No. Obinna nodded. Then don't let their talk enter your heart. Adana's lips trembled. Sometimes I feel like I failed. Obinna shook his head. You survived. That is not failure. Adana held her belly and breathed out slowly. He made me feel like I was nothing. Obinna replied. He lied. Adana stared at him. How do you say it like it's simple? Obinna smiled faintly. Because it is simple. You are a human being. You are a mother. You are enough. Adana's eyes filled again. She whispered, "Thank you." Days later, the contractions started at night. At first, Adana tried to ignore it. Felt like strong cramps. She paced slowly, breathing. Obinna noticed her movement immediately. "Adana," he called from his room. "Are you okay?" Adana forced her voice to sound normal. "I'm fine." Obinna stepped out and saw her holding her belly with both hands. His face changed. "Is it time?" Adana's voice shook. "I think so." Obinna moved quickly, but not in panic. "Sit down. Breathe. I'm calling the doctor." Adana sat. Sweat formed on her forehead. The pain came again, stronger. "Ah!" she groaned softly. Obinna rushed back with his phone. "The doctor said we should come now." Adana nodded, trying not to cry. "Obinna, I'm scared." He knelt beside her. "Look at me." Adana looked at him. "You will be fine," Obinna said. "And your baby will be fine. I'm here." Adana's lips shook. "Michael is not here." Obinna's voice was gentle. "Forget Michael tonight. Tonight is about you and your child." Adana held his hand tightly. "Okay." They got to the hospital. Nurses rushed her in. Obinna stayed close, answering questions, signing papers, calling for help when needed. One nurse looked at him and asked, "Are you the husband?" Obinna paused for a second. Adana turned her face slightly, breathless. Obinna said, "I'm her support. Please help her." The nurse nodded and moved faster. Adana was taken into the delivery room. Obinna couldn't go in, but he stayed right outside like a guard. He didn't sit. He paced. He prayed quietly. He checked the time again and again. Hours passed. Adana's cries came through the door sometimes. Obinna's heart tightened each time. Inside, Adana felt like her body was tearing, but she kept hearing the nurse's voice. "Push, Adana. Push." Adana cried, "I can't." "You can," the nurse insisted. "One more time." Adana screamed and pushed again, tears flooding her eyes. "I'm tired," she sobbed. "I'm tired of pain. I'm tired of everything." The nurse wiped her face. "Look at me. You have already suffered too much in your life. Don't stop now." Adana nodded weakly and pushed again. Then suddenly, a loud cry filled the room. A baby's cry. Adana froze, then began to sob harder. But this time it was not from pain. It was relief. The nurse lifted the baby. "You did it," Adana whispered. "My baby. Healthy baby," the nurse said. "Very strong." Adana's whole body shook as she reached out. The baby was placed on her chest. She looked at the tiny face, the small hands, the trembling lips. Adana whispered, "Hi." The nurse smiled. "You're a mother now." Adana closed her eyes and cried quietly, holding the baby close. In that moment, she remembered Michael's words. The insults, the disgust, the way he pushed her out like dirt. And she realized something. She had given birth without him. And she was still alive. She was still standing. Outside, the door finally opened. Obinna rushed forward. "How is she?" The nurse smiled. "She's fine. Baby is fine." Obinna's breath released like he had been holding it for years. Thank God. He was allowed in after some time. When he entered, he saw Adana lying weakly, holding the baby. Her face was tired, but her eyes were bright. Obinna walked closer slowly. "Adana." Adana looked up at him and whispered, "He's here." Obinna's voice cracked slightly. "You were strong." Adana shook her head. "No, I was scared." Obinna sat beside her. "Being scared doesn't mean you're weak." Adana looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, "If you were not there, I don't know what would have happened to me." Obinna replied, "I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere." Months passed. Adana healed slowly. She gained confidence again. She started smiling again. She started wearing nice clothes again, not to impress anyone, but because she finally remembered who she was. Obinna stayed consistent. He cared for the baby like the child was his own. He cared for Adana like she mattered. One evening, as the baby slept, Adana sat beside Obina and said softly, "This peace, I never thought I would have it again." Obina looked at her. "You deserve peace." Adana hesitated, then spoke with a steady voice. "Obina, I want us to be a family, not just strangers living together." Obina's eyes softened. "Are you sure?" Adana nodded. "Yes, I'm sure." Obina reached for her hand gently. "Then we will build it. The right way. With love. With respect." And that was how Adana's life turned around for good. While the man who humiliated her believed he had moved on, not knowing karma had only started writing his own chapter. 1 year passed. Michael's house looked different. The air inside it was loud but empty. Chioma filled it with perfumes, laughter, and expensive demands. She walked around like she owned the place. Michael tried to convince himself he was happy, because he had what he wanted. Peace from Adana's tears, peace from pregnancy talk, peace from responsibility. But the truth was, it was not peace. It was noise. One afternoon, Michael came home early and found Chioma in the sitting room, on a video call, laughing. He stood by the doorway listening. Chioma said, "Ah, you think I will suffer? Please, once the papers are ready, I'm gone." She paused, then laughed again. "He thinks I love him. He's so easy." Michael's chest tightened. Chioma continued, "The house, the cars, the land, I'm taking half. Let him cry. I don't care." Michael's stomach dropped. He stepped forward without thinking. The floor creaked slightly. Chioma turned and saw him. Her smile froze. Michael's voice came out low and rough. "What did you just say?" Chioma ended the call immediately and dropped her phone on her lap. "How long have you been standing there?" Michael walked closer, eyes hard. "Answer me. What did you just say?" Chioma rolled her eyes slightly. "Michael, don't start." "Start what?" Michael demanded. "You were on call saying you will take my properties." Chioma stood up slowly, adjusting her hair. "So you were listening?" Michael laughed bitterly. "Don't change the topic." Chioma folded her arms. "Okay, yes, I said it." Michael stared at her like he couldn't believe it. "So you were using me?" Chioma shrugged. "Is that new information?" Michael's jaw clenched. "Chioma, I sacrificed my marriage for you." Chioma laughed, loud and careless. "Sacrificed?" "Michael, please. You didn't sacrifice anything. You threw your wife away because you wanted to." Michael stepped closer. "You told me she was useless. You told me to replace her. You made me hate her." Chioma's eyes narrowed. "And you listened. That's on you." Michael's hands shook slightly. "So you never loved me." Chioma waved her hand. "Love? Which love? The love you used to insult a pregnant woman? The love you used to throw your wife out in public?" Michael's face tightened. "Don't talk to me like that." Chioma smirked. "How should I talk to you? Like the king you think you are?" Michael's voice rose. "I brought you into my house. I spent money on you. I did everything." Chioma replied coldly. "Yes, and I enjoyed it. Thank you." Michael's chest felt like it was burning. "So you're leaving me?" Chioma tilted her head. "Of course." Michael looked around the house like the walls would help him breathe. "For who?" Chioma smiled slowly. "Someone better." Michael's eyes widened. "Better than me?" Chioma's smile turned cruel. "Michael, you're not special. You were just available." Michael's mouth opened, then closed. His pride couldn't find words. Chioma picked up her phone again. "I've been patient enough. I'm done." Michael grabbed her wrist. "You can't just walk out." Chioma jerked her hand away. "Don't touch me." Michael's voice broke slightly. "Chioma, please, don't do this." Chioma laughed again. "Now you're begging?" Michael swallowed. "I'm not begging. I'm saying let us talk." Chioma moved closer, her voice low and sharp. "Michael, listen. I stayed because you were useful. I'm leaving because I found someone with more." Michael's eyes looked glassy. "So you used me?" Chioma nodded plainly. "Yes." Michael's heart pounded hard. "And you plan to take my properties too?" Chioma shrugged. "That's what divorce is for." Michael stared at her. "Divorce? We're not even properly married. Chioma smiled like she was amused. Don't worry. My lawyer knows what to do. Michael felt weak. Chioma, are you serious? Chioma picked up her handbag. Very. Michael blocked her path. You can't leave. Not like this. Chioma looked him up and down slowly. Move. Michael didn't move. Chioma's voice rose. Michael, move. A neighbor's voice came from outside. Is everything okay? Chioma smiled sweetly toward the door. Yes, everything is fine. Then she turned back to Michael and hissed through her teeth. If you try to embarrass me, I will destroy you. Michael stepped back slowly, shocked by the hatred in her eyes. Chioma walked past him and headed toward the room. Michael followed her. So what was I to you? Chioma didn't stop walking. A step. Michael's voice cracked. I threw Adana out. I insulted her. I made her cry. I did all that because of you. Chioma turned and looked at him with disgust. And that's why I can't respect you. Michael froze. What? Chioma's voice was calm but deadly. A man who can treat his pregnant wife like trash will treat anyone like trash. I'm just smarter than Adana. I'm leaving before you turn on me. Michael's breath caught. You're calling me trash? Chioma smiled. I'm calling you foolish. Michael's shoulders dropped. So what now? Chioma opened the wardrobe and began pulling out clothes. Now I pack my things. Michael watched her like he was watching his life fall apart. Please, he said again, softer. Don't do this. Chioma looked at him and laughed. You really thought I was yours. Michael's eyes burned. I loved you. Chioma waved her hand. Save it for someone who cares. Michael felt dizzy. So you have another man already. Chioma zipped a suitcase. Yes, Michael whispered. And you're taking my house. Chioma looked up. Half. Michael's throat tightened. I will be left with nothing. Chioma shrugged. That's life. Michael's voice rose again, desperate now. How can you be so heartless? Chioma paused and looked at him like he was slow. Heartless? Michael, you threw your pregnant wife out of your house. You stood there while neighbors watched her cry. You laughed. You called her fat. You told her to leave. Michael flinched like her words hit him physically. Chioma continued. So don't stand here pretending you're a victim. Michael's eyes filled with tears, but he forced them back. Please, I just want to fix this. Chioma pulled her suitcase toward the door. Fix your life. I'm out. Michael blocked her again, but his strength was gone. Chioma leaned close and whispered, If you disturb me again, I will make sure you lose everything faster. Then she pushed past him and walked out. Michael stood alone in the sitting room, hearing the gate shut. The silence was louder than any insult. He slowly sat down on the floor, staring at nothing. And for the first time since he humiliated Adana, Michael felt fear. Real fear. Because now he understood something. Chioma didn't just plan to leave him. She planned to finish him. 3 months after Chioma walked out, Michael's life collapsed completely. The lawyers came first. Papers followed. Court dates stacked up. Properties he once bragged about were suddenly not fully his anymore. Accounts were frozen. Cars were seized. The house that once echoed with his laughter now felt like a borrowed space. One evening, Michael sat alone in the sitting room, surrounded by half-packed boxes. The lights were off. He stared at the wall, replaying Chioma's words over and over. A man who can throw out his pregnant wife is not worth respecting. His phone buzzed. He grabbed it quickly, hoping, foolishly, that it was Chioma. It wasn't. It was a message from his lawyer. You need to vacate the house by Friday. Michael laughed, a hollow sound that scared even him. Vacate, he muttered. My own house. By Friday, Michael stood outside with 2 bags. That was all he had left. The gate locked behind him the same way it once locked Adana out. Only now there was no crowd watching. Just silence. He slept in a cheap room that night. The mattress was thin. The room smelled damp. He lay awake staring at the ceiling, his mind restless. For the first time, Adana's face came back clearly. Her tears, her shaking hands, her voice begging him not to disgrace her. He turned to the wall and squeezed his eyes shut. Why did I listen to her? He whispered. The next morning, hunger woke him. Michael sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his phone. He scrolled through old pictures. One photo stopped him. Adana, pregnant, smiling shyly at the camera in the early months before everything went wrong. He dropped the phone. I destroyed my own home, he said aloud. That was when the thought came. Go and apologize. At first, pride fought it. But hunger, fear, and loneliness were stronger. Michael sold the last thing he had, a wristwatch Chioma once admired, and used the money to find Adana. He asked around quietly. People talked. Word traveled. She lives peacefully now, someone told him. She remarried, another said. She is happy. Each word felt like a slap. Still, Michael went. When he finally stood across the street from the house, his heart pounded hard. It was not a mansion. It was not flashy, but it looked warm, alive. Children's laughter floated from inside. Michael froze. The gate opened. Adana stepped out. She looked different. Her body was fuller, but strong. Her face was bright. Her back was straight. There was no fear in her eyes anymore. She was holding a baby. Behind her stood Obinna, calm and steady, his hand resting protectively on the door. Michael's knees weakened. Adana saw him. For a second, her expression changed. Not to anger, not to fear, but to surprise. Michael, she said. Her voice was calm. Michael swallowed hard. Adana! The baby stirred in her arms. Obinna stepped forward slightly. Is there a problem? Michael shook his head quickly. No, no problem. I came to see her. Adana looked at Obinna, then back at Michael. Why? Michael's eyes filled with tears he could no longer control. I came to apologize. The words fell weakly between them. Adana adjusted the baby on her shoulder. For what? Michael's voice broke. For everything. He took a step forward, then stopped, remembering himself. I was cruel. I was blind. I listened to the wrong voice. Adana said nothing. Michael continued, desperation creeping in. I insulted you. I humiliated you. I threw you out while you were pregnant. I destroyed my own home. Adana watched him quietly. Michael's shoulders dropped. I lost everything. Obinna spoke calmly. That doesn't bring her pain back. Michael nodded. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know that I regret it every day. Adana looked down at her child, then back at Michael. I cried for you, she said softly. I begged you. You laughed. Michael closed his eyes. I know. You made me feel useless, she continued. You made me feel ashamed of my body. Michael whispered. I was wicked. Adana nodded once. Yes. The word landed heavy. Michael looked at the baby. Is he? Yes, Adana replied. He is fine. Michael smiled weakly. He's beautiful. Obinna tightened his jaw slightly but said nothing. Adana's voice stayed calm. I have moved on, Michael. Michael nodded slowly. I can see that. She continued. I am safe. I am loved. I am at peace. Michael's chest tightened painfully. I came too late, he said. Adana replied gently. Yes. There was no bitterness in her voice. That was what hurt the most. Michael stepped back. I won't disturb you again. Obinna nodded. That would be best. Michael looked at Adana one last time. I'm sorry. Adana held her baby closer. Take care of yourself. Michael turned and walked away. He didn't know where he was going. That night, Michael slept under a bridge, using his bag as a pillow. Cars passed above him. Cold air wrapped around his body. As he stared into the darkness, Adana's face stayed in his mind. Not crying, not begging, but peaceful. And for the first time, Michael understood the full weight of what he had done. He had humiliated his pregnant wife for being fat. Years later, karma had taught him the hardest lesson. Some mistakes cannot be undone.